Hi, I'm Jima Bonnie, and today I want to show you this adorable birthday calendar. It tells only your family story with every one of your people on it. One of the wonderful things about machine embroidery is that it allows you to make very personal items for either yourself or for gifts to give away. So here's what you're going to need to make this calendar. You're going to need some fabric, a yard of fabric. I love the look of Onsnaburg. It has kind of that homespun look that I really like. But 100% cotton will work. And I went to a secondhand store and found this beautiful piece of linen that is probably 100 years old. It has been stamped for embroidery. I'm going to try to save it and make one of these calendars with it. It was probably 50 cents, so it's going to make a beautiful calendar if I can save enough for it. The other things you're going to need is heavyweight tearaway, and you're going to need machine embroidery threads. How many threads you need depends on how you want your final calendar to look. You'll also need regular sewing thread, you'll need pins, you'll need an pair of embroidery scissors. You may want to use a fabric marker. You're going to need a way to cut the buttonholes for your tags that go on it. You're going to need both starch and spray adhesive, an iron of course, and we're going to measure to make sure the scale's right, so you're going to have a tape measure of some sort. For a hanger, you could either use a dowel with some finials, a cord, and tassels to get this kind of a hanger. Or if you want, you can use these cafe rings, these cabone rings, and you will get this kind of a hanger. You tack them on and put them on these nails. You also are going to need to have buttons to put these tags on. You'll need 12 buttons for the month, and then however many buttons you're going to need to keep doing your daisy chain of tags. Okay, the zip file that you will get from our website comes with a PDF that has a pattern and instructions for making this calendar. The first 7 pages are the actual pattern. You want to make sure that your printer is printing to scale, and one of the ways you do that is to take the top section B, because you've got the actual scale that it should be, and just measure from the center of the red cross to the center of the second red cross. If it measures 5 3/4, your scale is good. If it doesn't, you need to go back into your printer and set it up so that it will print actual size, not something like fit or some of the other options that's there. Okay, so once you have your pattern, you're going to want to tape them together. So you can tape the sections A, you can tape the sections B, the section C. You will then go ahead and match A to B and B to C, and you're going to end up with a pattern ready to use that looks like this. So your pattern is all put together. Okay, so you want to heavily starch your fabric. Put your pattern on your fabric and cut it out. And then you want to mark all these centers. And I use something called tailor tacks. So I will actually mark this center. I'll mark this center and so on. And then I'm going to mark these lines also, because these lines are important, so I'm going to mark from this line to this line very carefully. Make sure you stay on the line, clear along. So when you're finished, you're going to have something that looks like this with all of your marks. Okay, so now I want to make sure I get these marks so I can read them with my hoop. I use an iron to do this, but you can also use a fabric pen, and you can mark them with your fabric pen. The thing with the fabric pen is you have to make absolutely sure you have everything out of your fabric, or the marks will stain when you go to press them. That's why I use an iron. So now I iron this long piece in, which represents this line, okay? Once I get that pressed in, then I go ahead and I press these vertical lines, which represent these lines. Once you get the lines in, this represents the red cross, which is the actual center of your hoop when you go to hoop this fabric. So it's going to be very important to make sure you get everything centered, so when you do all four of your hoopings, you get your family birthday working right. Okay, so this is going to be the first time you hoop your fabric. Note where you've got your crosses and that your center is falling right in the center there. You have actually put a stabilizer on the back, and you've taken it to the machine, you've embroidered it. Notice the little dots at the very bottom are for the placements of your buttons. Okay, so now you can remove this hoop, and you can hoop your next one. So this is the hoop for family 2. And notice that it's just started right from the beginning. So take it to your machine, embroider that out, and you've got family 2 done. Then you can, of course, remove that. And when you're all finished, you have actually all of them done. You've hooped family 3 and you've hooped family 4, and it's complete. What you'll need to do now is remove all of the stabilizer from the back, and then you're going to want to use a Turkish towel so that you don't, so that you keep this and don't crush your embroidery. You'll use a Turkish towel and you'll press it. So now that you have it all nicely pressed, you had several other marks besides just the marks for the center. There were two marks on this side that leaves a space for the dowel, and there's marks here that leaves a space to actually turn your calendar when you're finished sewing. So just with your right side up, fold towards the bottom, and we'll pin this. We'll pin this, and then once we get it pinned, you're going to sew from here to this mark a 1/4 inch seam, and from here to this mark a 1/4 inch seam, so that when you're all finished with it, you can turn it right side out through this opening. Okay, so once you get your seam done, what you want to do is to press it in, and I put a towel in between so that you don't have any crease on the outside of your calendar, and just go ahead and press it down on both sides. Okay, once you get it pressed, now those other two things, dots or places that you made marks on, we want to put those together. So you want to make sure that they're right together, and you're going to sew to there. Notice that that is going to roll a seam to the back of your calendar. When you get it all finished, this will roll your seam to the back. So now you want to take this back to the sewing machine, and you want to sew this inch from here to here, back tack it there, and sew it down. So this should be about an inch. So just straight down on either side. Once you get that done, then you can turn it inside out and pull it so that you have these nice corners nice and crisp, and you're going to get something that looks like this. So you've got your nice crisp corners, okay? Then once you get that done, you can go ahead and press each one of these ends. So now they're nice and pressed and crisp. The next thing that you're going to want to do now is to put your buttons on. So your buttons go at each one of these little dots that you made with the sewing machine, and you put your button so it just barely covers the dot, and you sew them on. So you'll have all 12 buttons on. Okay, so now we've got this completed, and we're ready to make the tags. So we've got all 12 buttons on for each one of our months, and we're ready to make the tags. So the first thing you want to do is to organize your birthdays. So just go ahead and figure out your months and what name falls within the month and what the date is. In this one, you notice there's a preponderance of people in June. Once you get that done, we're going to go to the machine. You'll have name tag pattern, and that is to actually build you a pattern on your machine to make your tags. So go ahead, hoop a piece of paper, change your needle because paper has a tendency to dull needles, and sew out the pattern. Once it's sewed out, go ahead and cut the pattern and cut it to the outside, making sure that you leave all the stitching intact. And this is what you're going to end up with as a pattern. So here are the tags that you've cut out using the pattern that you made. So we have cut out 4 of these tags that we want to put in this placement. So we're going to spray them with adhesive. So we're protecting our work area so it doesn't get all over. And I'm just going to spray each one of these. Once I get them sprayed, then I'm going to put them on, making sure that I cover all of the stitching. So make sure all the stitching is covered. I press them down. Once I get them all done, then I will take them to the sewing machine and complete these next 4 tags. And when I get them completed, they will look like this, with a buttonhole on the top, the name, and the date. So now, as it happens, these 4 are going to be strung down on June. So I put a buttonhole at the end of each one of them that I want to string. Oh, and by the way, do not remove the interfacing, the stabilizer from the back, because it gives it more body. Once we've got that ready, we need to cut our buttonholes. So with an X-Acto knife, or whatever way you cut your buttonholes, just go ahead and cut down the buttonhole ready to be put on. So there's your first one. You'll cut your next one, put it on, etc. So once you get that, you'll get those all daisy chained. Once you get all of this finished, with all of the tags that you need for this particular one. Okay, so now, once you get all your tags on, then you're going to get ready for some type of hanger. In this case, we'll talk about hanging them from a dowel. I just am taking off some of the things. So remember, you left this little piece open. So just go ahead and string your dowel through it. And then you can put your ends on your dowel, on both ends. You can put your cord on the end of each dowel, and if you want, you can put these cute little tassels on. And then you have something that looks like this. As an alternative hanger, you can use cafe rings, or they call them cabone rings, and just tack them on, one on either end, and one in the center, and then just hang them on small nails as hangers. So now you have two ways to hang these, and whatever other way you might think to hang them. So that completes your beautiful family birthday calendar. Okay, so with this one, with all the multicolors, we color-coded the birthdays. And with this one, the other one, we did it monochromatic, so you have lots of choices and you can design it however you please. Log on to gmabani.com for the information and to purchase this design. Under Embroidery Designs, click on Family and Friends, and then Family Calendar. Remember, this design comes with a PDF that includes both the pattern and instructions, text files with color change, and any other directions you might need to complete the project. Here at Gmabani's, we hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have fun with all of your sewing projects.